Hello everybody, my name is Ennis.
And my name is Sarah, and you are watching our Anatomy and Physiology cat dissection video of the 2011-2012 school year at Southwest Career and Technical Academy.
So the sections that we are going to be reviewing are
the muscular system,
peripheral nerves,
cardiovascular system,
thoracic cavity,
and abdominal cavity.
So let's start off with the muscular system. The regions we are going to review are the head and neck,
Thoracic cavity,
peripherals,
and dorsal.
So here's the head and neck. So before we got to the actual muscles of the head and neck and everywhere else, we had to skin the cat. Now the first muscle that I'm going to be showing you guys on the head and neck is the sternoid. As you can see, I'm moving my probe. The next muscle after that is the two digastrics. Following that is the genoid. And before we got to the next muscle, we had to remove a lot of connective tissue that was on the head and neck. And that muscle is the masseter. As you can see, I'm rounding its shape off. And the last muscle that I'm going to show you is the sternomastoid.
Now let's move on to the thoracic cavity. Here we have the pectoantiobrachialis, which lies on top of the pectoralis major. You can see I made an incision differentiating the two muscles. And right here, the pectoralis major has a small V, as the pectoralis minor has a larger V. And right here is the subfemoralis.
Third in line is the peripherals. As you can see, the first muscle I'm touching is called the acromoid-deltoid, following the clavodeltoid. Above the clavodeltoid is the clavotrapezius. Right now when I am moving my probe up and down, that muscle is called the lateral head of the tricep brachii. Beneath that muscle is the long head of tricep brachii. And last but not least is the spinodeltoid.
Now let's move on to the legs of the cat. This is the posterior view. This small muscle right here is known as the caudofemoralis, as this fairly large one is known as the bicep femoris. Now this muscle that I'm poking for you is the fasciae lata, and this muscle that I'm outlining for you with my probe is known as the sartorius. Now as I retract this muscle, the superficial muscle, to the left of the caudofemoralis, it is known as the tensor fasciae latae. Now let's move to the ventral side of the cat. Now this muscle, the superficial muscle that moved down for you, this is known as the gracilis, and underneath is known as the vastus medialis, behind the rectus femoris, and underneath that is the abductor femoris. As we move down, the superficial muscle, it is known as the semimembranosus, and at the end of the leg, or known as the calf, that is known as the gastrocnemius.
So the last muscular section that we are going to be reviewing is the dorsal. So as you can see, the muscle that I'm holding with my right hand is called the acromoid trapezius, as I'm patting it down. Now there was a lot of adipose tissue on our cat. Sorry guys, it was just really bothering me and I had to remove it. So moving on. Okay, so the muscle that I'm holding with my left hand is called the spinotrapezius, and it's called that because it's closest to the spine. An interesting fact about the spinotrapezius is that it connects directly with the acromoid trapezius, as you can see there. And last but not least, our favorite muscle, the latissimus dorsi.
Now if you haven't already noticed, there are some differences between the humans and the cats regarding the muscular system.
First off is that cats have 3 deltoids while humans only have 2 deltoids.
In dealing with the pectoantiobrachialis, this is non-existent in humans, where we only have a pectoralis major and minor.
Another prominent difference is that the cats have 3 trapeziuses while humans only have 2 trapezius muscles.
And as well, the subfemoralis is non-existent in humans.
So the next section we are going to review is none other than the peripheral nerves.
And since peripheral means arms and legs, we are just going to cover the arms and legs.
So here are the arms. So this might look daunting and confusing at first, but I will clear it up for you guys. So what you can see where I'm holding my probe, that is the medial nerve. On my right hand is the ulnar nerve. As you can see, it's connecting to the ulnar. And right now what I'm looking for, last but not least, which is most known of the nerves, is the radial nerve.
Okay, now let's go over the nerves of the legs. Here is the posterior view of the cat once again. And this fairly large nerve is known as the sciatic nerve. It runs down from the spine down to the legs. It's fairly large, as you can see, very wide compared to the femoral nerve, which is what I'm outlining for you right now. You can look up, there you go. And they both are intertwined actually from the spine, and they branch out, headed down through the leg. And here you can see the branches of the nerves as they travel further down the leg. Now let's look at the anterior view of the cat. here, we can see the branches of the nerves, and this right here, this is actually the femoral nerve again, anterior view. The femoral nerve can be viewed anterior and posterior, and it originates as 1 but branches as 3 in the anterior view. Let's see if you can see this right here. Here is actually one of the branches, as you can see, and if we travel further up the cat, the ventral cavity inside, you can see it originates as 1 and then branches as 3.
And the next section is the cardiovascular system.
This section includes the thoracic and abdominal cavity.
And here's the thoracic cavity. Dun dun dun. So as you guys can see, we had to open the thoracic cavity of the cat in order to expose the heart and its major arteries and veins. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is the superior vena cava. As you can see, it's really blue and it's prominent. So I'm moving my probe under these 3 main arteries and veins, and right next to the superior vena cava is the brachiocephalic artery, and the third thing closest to the tip of my probe is called the left subclavian artery. So as you guys can see, on the head and neck there's an artery called the carotid artery, and there's 2 of them actually, which are called internal and external carotid arteries.
Now as we head down to the abdominal cavity, you will see a very large blue vein. This is known as the inferior vena cava. And lateral to this vein, there is the abdominal aorta. However, it's not very prominent in our cat due to the large amount of latex. Now, the inferior vena cava travels through the diaphragm and connects to the right atrium of the heart, where the blood flow will continue through the lungs and become oxygenated once again to be sent throughout the body.
So the next section we're going to review is the ventral cavity.
This section consists of the thoracic and abdominal cavity.
And here is the thoracic cavity. So the cat has 6 lobes, and the first lobe that I'm going to be showing you guys, anatomically speaking, is the left apical. Right under the left apical is the left cardiac. Right under that is the left diaphragmatic. Now moving on to the right side. That lobe, the first one that you're going to see, is called the right apical. Right under the right apical is the right cardiac, and right below that, closest to the diaphragm, is the right diaphragmatic. Now the interesting thing about the heart is that it does have a covering, and that covering is called the pericardium. The pericardium prevents friction rub.
Move down to the abdominal cavity, you'll first see the diaphragm again. This is actually the division between the thoracic and abdominal cavity. Then you see the liver, the small piece right there is the gallbladder. This is the stomach, and you'll see a covering known as the greater omentum. This holds all the intestines in place. And as we shift through the intestines, you will see a difference in texture. This will be known as the pancreas. Right about here, right there. As you head down to the intestines, this is known as the rectum, and at the very end it's called the rectal sphincter. Now you will see 2 blue organs, and these are actually known as the kidneys.
If you guys didn't notice, there are many differences between cats and humans.
The cat has 6 lobes, as the humans only have 5 lobes.
And the cat does not have an appendix, while the humans do have an appendix.
Through this video, we have reviewed the following sections: the muscular system,
Peripheral nerves,
cardiovascular system,
thoracic cavity,
and abdominal cavity. We hope that you have enjoyed watching this video,
and that you have mastered the sections that we have reviewed. Thank you for your time. My name is Enes Yashevich.
and my name is Sarah Fernandez.
Bye-bye.